Hello, everybody. Long time no see. So glad to be here. So glad to have you with me for another Healthy Minds streaming meditation. If you don't know, Healthy Minds Innovations is a nonprofit whose mission is to translate the science of well-being into useful, practical, actionable tools, which includes things like this live streaming meditation, the Healthy Minds program app, as well as the masterclass, which is a more intensive programming. I'm actually going to be leading a masterclass with the wonderful Stephanie Wagner starting in July, August. So if you're interested in that, we can share the link in the chat. I'll say more about that later. But first, our theme this month is looking to the future. And that's actually a really challenging thing to do these days. There's so much uncertainty. We're dealing with the pandemic. We're dealing with the fallout of the pandemic in our personal lives, but also on a societal level and a global level. And so sometimes it can be really difficult to look to the future because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's coming. We don't know how to prepare. And that can be really challenging. It can provoke a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But at the same time, it feels like it's really important for our well-being to have something to look forward to. You may have noticed that in your own life. If you sign up for something, or you commit to something, or you've got a trip coming up, or a virtual event coming up, or you sign up for a concert or a conference or something like that, or you're planning to hang out with family on the weekend or whatever it is. When you've got something to look forward to, all of a sudden, everything kind of feels like there's more flow to it and more rhythm. So it can be a very powerful practice to do that intentionally for yourself. So that's maybe the first thing that I might offer today, is to consider setting intentionally something you can look forward to, something you can rely on in the future, just to get that sense of balance and that sense of looking to the future. The other thing that I wanted to introduce and that we're going to practice with today is that everything that happens in the future starts now, in this present moment. And it's something that we can pay attention to, and it feels appropriate to do so in spring. You may have noticed that I'm not, if you've come to a few of these sessions, that I'm not where I usually am. My family and I have come off to a rural property, actually. It's the new site of the Willow Monastic Academy, which is a kind of modern monastery that's starting in rural Ontario. The original location is in Vermont, and it's all about mindfulness practice and meditation practice. And being here, I've really had a lot of connection with the trees and spring. And spring is usually a time where we think about new beginnings, and we think about celebrating birth. And there's something about the relationship between the experiences we have that arise and are born in the present moment and how they lead to the future. And so what I want to practice with today is paying attention to the newness and the births that happen in every moment. And when we hone our awareness and attention into this area, it can be really, really, really powerful for our practice. So I see all your hellos in the chat. Hi, David. Hi, Christine. Hi, Jess. Hi, Marisa. Wonderful to have you all here. Let's take a moment to get into this practice. We're going to practice for, let's say, about 15 minutes. So until about 20 minutes past the hour. And we're going to be kind of settling in awareness. And then as we go deeper into the practice, I'm going to sort of gently direct your attention to births, to new experiences as they arise. And as always, if you have a practice that you already have momentum with that's calling you in this moment, feel free to just enjoy this space of virtual community and ignore my guidance and practice that. And if you're new to this sort of thing and everything I'm saying feels a little bit kind of awkward, feel free to just use this opportunity to listen to the instructions and reflect on them and take this time to relax. So whenever you're ready, find a posture, a position that feels appropriate for a meditation practice. So that means something comfortable, but also upright and alert if possible. Some people like to even stand up. Feel free to sit upright. You can lie down if your body doesn't, if your body prefers that, but I'd recommend sitting up or standing up if possible for a sense of alertness. If you are lying down, feel free to find a position that's not so comfortable that you might get drowsy. And let's just take a moment to gradually ease our way, noticing this transition from kind of regular waking life into mindfulness practice. There's no rush as we step into this. It's almost like you're, stepping into the lake or the ocean. You don't always just jump right in. You slowly kind of, your feet are, I'm used to cold water up here in Canada, but your feet are cold and then you get used to it and then you get a little bit deeper in your knees. So similarly, let's take our time to slowly slip into this practice. So feel free to close your eyes if you'd like or keep them open, and let's get into it. Just letting it all settle. If you want to take a few deep breaths, you're more than welcome to do so. Some people really like scanning through the body as they prepare for a practice like this. So feel free to notice if there's any tension in your head, the muscles around your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, shoulders, letting go of the belly, letting your hands rest in the lap, finding a comfortable place for your feet. And now I'll encourage you to reflect on the question for you personally. Why are you here doing this? What's the point? The idea here is to notice the deeper motivation. You might even ask a few whys. So whatever answer comes up when you ask, why am I doing this? Ask why again and why again. Keep asking why until you get to some sort of deeper value or deeper inspiration that seems to be leading you to show up for a meditation or sign into a meditation like this, to spend 15 minutes in this way. See if you can get deep. For example, you might ask, why am I doing this? And the answer that comes is, well, I want to relax. Well, then you might ask, well, why do I want to relax? Well, I want to relax because life's busy these days. And why is that important? Well, I care about myself and I know that if I overdo it, I'm going to burn out. And why is that important? Well, if I burn out, I won't be there for the people I care about. You can see how that power of the question why can quickly take you from I want to relax to, universal love and compassion for the people in your life and maybe even the people all around the world. So keep asking why for a few more moments here. Okay, now let's take whatever came up for you in that exercise and use it as fuel to maybe even readjust your posture to capture that full intention of why you're here as we move into an awareness practice. So I'm going to open it up for you to freely choose your focus area for this practice. So you can pay attention to your sensations of breathing. You might notice any sensations associated with breathing. You might want to hone in on your nostril or the flow of air in your throat or your chest or your belly, whatever works for you. But if you prefer, you can pay attention to sound. You can notice sounds in your environment coming and going. Anything you want. You can pay attention to the whole body. You can even do a visual meditation if you want to look at the swirls behind your closed eyes, or even open your eyes and gaze at a scene. Take a few moments to make a clear decision about which technique you're going to do. It's not often useful to flip-flop on this. So make a decision and maybe even say to yourself, I'm going to pay attention to sound for the next 10 minutes. Or I'm going to be aware of my breath for the next 10 minutes. Set a clear intention of which focus area you're going to bring awareness to. And once you've made that choice, gently place your attention there and notice what those sensations feel like in this moment. No need to bring too much effort to this. It's kind of what I'm getting at when I say gently place your attention there. It's inevitable that the mind boards a train of thought and takes you away every now and then. It's perfectly natural. It's part of the process. You don't need to do anything about it other than just simply get off the train. You don't need to get angry at the train. You don't need to get critical of yourself for boarding the train. Just get off the train and come back to your focus area, whether it's breathing or sound or sight, or maybe even all three. It often takes a little bit of time to stabilize your attention, so you don't need to rush into this. I always love that metaphor of the snow globe. You know, you've shaken up the snow globe with your life and you've just put it down. It takes a little bit of time to settle. That's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm here to give you some time for your snow globe to settle. So there's no need to rush, or you might end up shaking the snow globe again. And if you're finding some balance and stability of awareness and mindfulness with your focus area, keep it up. If you find that your mind is racing a little bit, that's perfectly okay. Just notice that. And maybe an ingredient you might stir into the pot here, it's a little bit of positivity, a little bit of love. Sometimes we get caught up with trying to resist all the thoughts and resist the racing. But maybe you can flip that on its head. Maybe you can enjoy the racing, or maybe you can simply get really curious about whatever's in your focus area. So as opposed to resisting distractions, getting really curious about what sound really sounds like, or really curious about what the breath really feels like, really curious about what the sights in front of you really look like. Sometimes curiosity can be an antidote to the restlessness that we often find, especially if where you are, it's the middle of the day. Now continue with your practice exactly as you're currently doing it. You're doing great. I want you to draw special attention to the moment where any new experience arises. So if you're working with sound, notice when a new sound enters your awareness. See if you can keep track of anything new that might be arising in your awareness. So it might be something that's been there all along, but you're noticing it for the first time. Or it might be something that's actually, someone sparks up a lawnmower across the street or something, and you notice that moment of birth where a new experience arises. If you're working with the breath, you might notice the beginning of each inhale, the beginning of each exhale, noticing the beginning of each new breath, refining and focusing your attention on newness, the moment of arising. See if you can let those experiences of new sensations being born anchor you in the present moment. Putting yourself in a position of high receptivity, ready for any new experience to arise, and noticing it as quickly as possible, as soon as you become aware. For example, I just heard a bird chirp, and I not only paid attention to the bird chirp, but the moment when the bird started chirping. That's what we're kind of asymptotically aiming for, getting closer and closer to witnessing the birth of new experience as it happens. If you're working with your visual field, it might seem tricky, especially if no new experiences are coming, but every movement you see is also something new. You notice a new movement arise. And that's true for sound and for the breath and for the body as well. A new experience doesn't necessarily have to start from zero. You can hone in on a new change or a new growth or a new increase in value. Again, bringing that warm, loving curiosity to this process. There's something kind of mysterious about it, that we are these conscious beings, and every single thing we experience seems to have a kind of beginning and an end. But in this practice, we're focusing on the beginning. We're celebrating spring by noticing the springtime of experience, the moment of arising. Stay with it. Few more moments here, just stay with it. Okay, nice work. Whenever you're ready, taking your time to transition out of the practice, but to carry that quality of awareness forward as you move into whatever comes next. And feel free to give your body whatever it might need, whether that's a stretch or a sip of water or tea. Okay, welcome back. I would love to hear in the chat here on the side. Is it that side? That side? I'd love to hear a little bit about what you experienced in that practice, particularly in the last third where we were focusing on newness. So feel free to share in the chat a little bit about what you experienced. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. And also, what your reflection on that practice is, what it might mean, and why it might be useful. And as I wait for that, maybe I'll just reflect a little bit for myself. There's something really interesting about, the 4 pillars that the Healthy Minds model espouses around a kind of taxonomy of well-being. And we've got awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. And what's really interesting is, often there are practices and explorations that run across these categories. And the practice we just did, especially the ending there, I kind of feel like we started in awareness, but there's an insight component to a practice like this, because certainly the foundation of paying attention to your breath or paying attention to sound or paying attention to sight, certainly there's a strong awareness component, and you need that skill of awareness to do that, to stay with that experience. But there's something that leans into the category of insight, which is all about kind of self-understanding. When we start to pay attention to like the seams of experience, like untangle the dynamics of experience, right? That there's a sound or there's a breath, but there's a dynamic, changing, flowing movement to it, that there's a start to the breath, and then there's an inhale, and there's a kind of on-ramp to the inhale, and then an off-ramp to the inhale, then a kind of pause, and then another start to the exhale, and it has a different quality of release. And we can get to this high level of clarity about our experience of the breath, the same way we can get to this high level of clarity of sound or sight. And when we start to notice our experience in that level of clarity, we start to get insights about who we are. We start to say, oh, okay, wait, everything that I experience, every thought that I have, every sound that I hear, there's an entrance, there's a birth, there's a starting. It's not a kind of, stable, static, solid thing. It's, for example, the bird that I heard during that practice. Who knows where that bird's been flying before and where it's come? And who knows if the bird singing was even in earshot of me well before I noticed it. But there was a moment where bird song started as a part of my experience. And there's some deep insight there about the nature of our experience that can really give us a little bit more space for choice in our life and give us a little bit more of a release when we need it, as well as more spiritually or cognitively or conceptually or scientifically opening us up to a deeper understanding of just who we are, namely that we are awareness itself. So a huge part about what defines us. And this is really real for me with my 2-year-old, who just seems to be pure awareness as he runs around. So hi, David. I liked opening myself to the immediacy of the now. Yeah, immediacy is a really great choice of words, David. Like there's a sense of like when you pay attention, not just to sound, but to beginnings or even endings of sound. There's a heightened feeling of immediacy to it. Like you're just resolving to the like hairline, tip of a pin, present moment. Christine shares, I like this focus of beginnings and birth. Yeah, I think so. I think it's like appropriate for springtime as well. Marissa, thank you. I've never focused on the beginning of a breath in that way before during my last 50 days doing the program. So it's great to see that there's always something new to discover. My pleasure, Marisa. It's there is indeed always something new to discover with this stuff. And one of my teachers has this great quote. This is Shinzen Young, he always says to make your practice a page turner, like to keep it interesting and engaging for you is a really essential part of making it a habit in your life. You may have noticed at some point during today's meditation, I said something about not resisting distraction as much as kind of like letting your natural curiosity pull you to your focus object. So instead of being like, I got to get these thoughts away so I can pay attention to my breath, it's more just like, let the natural curiosity tap into what it feels like to breathe. And instead, you don't have to worry about the distractions because you're so drawn to the breath. And that's something we can say about the practice as a whole, that if you're kind of caught in this loop where you've got meditation on your calendar and your to-do list, and it feels like kind of like your workout, this is true for workouts too, by the way, but it feels like, I got to get to my meditation. I got to get to my meditation. Check off the to-do list. You might benefit from that invert where it's like, oh, there's always something new to discover here. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to explore a new approach or stir a new ingredient, so that the natural curiosity of what it's like to be a living, breathing human being draws you to your practice more than you having to force yourself to do it. And that kind of reversal can be a very major turning point from I'm trying to get a practice going to I have a stable practice that's a part of my life because it's something I enjoy as much as I enjoy reading a book or watching TV or going for a walk or whatever it is that you do. So I hope this was all useful. Just a couple of announcements before we close up. Like I said, myself and Stephanie Wagner are going to be leading the masterclass in July and August. And I think until May 15th, the early bird price is there. So if you are thinking about doing it, you've got a couple of weeks to get $75 off if you want to join us. It'll be great to see you there and, practice more intensively for 8 weeks of, intense sessions where we have all kinds of different exercises that we're going to do, exploring awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. And also we're continuing on with these live streaming meditations for those who want to continue joining. We also have announced on Friday, May 21st for World Meditation Day, Dr. Richie Davidson, the founder of Healthy Minds Innovations and the Center for Healthy Minds, is going to be leading a special live streaming session. So I hope you join us there. And before we go, we're going to let Carmen have the last word here. I see a message coming in the chat. Holding the immediate experience in spaciousness can be so relieving. We can always choose the focus of our attention, and that's so powerful. Couldn't say it better myself. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Be safe, be well, be balanced. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.